Hello everybody, my name is Tianshi Wang, and today I'm talking about computing with phase logic. So once upon a time, when computers were still made of vacuum tubes, in 1954, John von Neumann filed a patent describing a very different computing paradigm. Instead of encoding logic values 1 or 0 as voltage levels, like 5 volt or 0 volt, he encoded them in the phases of oscillating signals. In the same year, Eiichi Goto from Japan came up with the same idea, and he actually built circuits to implement his idea. He called them parametrons, and they are essentially filters made with inductors and capacitors. Using parametrons, Goto built computers that could operate with phase logic. Compared with vacuum tubes, these computers were said to be cheap and reliable, and they were once popular in Japan, but only for a while. We all know that vacuum tubes were quickly replaced by transistors, and the transistors kept becoming smaller and smaller. But Goto and von Neumann's phase logic computers had to use large inductors and capacitors for building the filters, and these are components very difficult to miniaturize. As a result, their ideas quickly went down the drain. While on the level logic side, with the scaling of transistors characterized by the Moore's law, level logic has been dominating logic computation for many decades. So the story of computing with phase logic seems to have ended. However, Moore's law is not doing so well in recent years, and it has encountered many obstacles in noise and interferences and in power dissipation. So alternatives to this conventional computing scheme have to be explored. And in this context, we take a fresh look at Goto and von Neumann's phase logic ideas. Our research shows that instead of using these filters made with inductors and capacitors, we can use oscillators for building phase logic computing. And here, a lovely picture of a metronome swinging between left and right. It's just to give you an intuitive idea about what's an oscillator. Our research has enabled a wide variety of oscillators for computing, including those in CMOS, in MEMS, optical ones like lasers, and other nano devices like spin-torque oscillators. Many of these are nanoscale. They oscillate at very high frequency, they can be integrated, and they consume very little power. And the mechanism behind using these oscillators for computing is injection locking. And here is a short video showing just a flavor of what this means. So these are metronomes, they are mechanical oscillators. They have slightly different frequencies, and they are started with random phases. And they all stand on the same board. So through the mechanism of injection locking, so they will all end up in the same frequency. And more remarkably, they will all end up in the exact same stable phase as what we are seeing right now. And it is in this stable phase where we can then encode and store a phase-based logic bit in an oscillator. Okay, back to computers. Well, the brain of a computer is the CPU, and in the core of a CPU is the concept of a finite state machine. In order to build state machines, you need registers, you need logic gates. We have worked it out that all these components can be implemented using oscillators with phase-encoded logic. We have also prototyped such a simple state machine on a breadboard. This is, to our knowledge, the first of its kind. From an oscilloscope, we can then observe how logic values are encoded in the system. For example, here's a logic 1 when the yellow signal is aligned with the reference, and here's a logic 0 when they have a 180-degree phase shift. So this kind of phase encoding features inherent resistance to noise. People have known this in communication for many decades, and with our work, we try to bring these advantages to computation. And also, with the nano oscillators that are available today, this kind of system offers potentials in very low power operation. And all these have made phase logic a promising alternative to explore. Well, this is the end of my presentation, but we believe the story of computing with phase logic has just begun. Thank you.